This is CBN NewsWatch.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm George Thomas. We begin in our nation's capital, where the White House is backing a $400 per week pandemic jobless benefit in a last-ditch effort. Pre-election negotiations with Democrats. New unemployment numbers out today remain at a very high level, and some are blaming Congress for not coming up with another coronavirus stimulus relief bill. Dale Hood has the story.
The U.S. is now in its 28th straight week of historically high jobless claims. 837,000 Americans applied for unemployment benefits last week alone.
Past October 1st, my future is like a big black hole.
Today, another 40,000 airline workers joined the unemployed, either furloughed or laid off, after federal funding ran out at midnight.
What do you do when you lose your dream job? Where do you go from there? I don't have any answers right now.
Airlines received $25 billion from the U.S. government in March and are asking for $25 billion more. But Congress has been in a months-long re-election stalemate over a new coronavirus stimulus relief bill, after the last one expired in July.
To keep people in this state of worry and uncertainty is just cruel. And so this has got to get done in terms of just human kindness. Some
small airports won't have any commercial flights at all. American Airlines alone is canceling flights to at least 11 U.S. cities.
There's going to be significant reductions in service that are going to affect so many communities.
A new stimulus bill would help restore the $600 federal unemployment benefit and extend the Paycheck Protection Program to help small businesses like restaurants.
Their priorities are on partisanship, and it's a disgrace.
The cruise industry has been devastated. The months-long no-sail order for cruise ships was set to expire Wednesday, but now has been extended until the end of October.
You have a significant density of people in a confined space and unclear how optimal the ventilation is, and that's a recipe for COVID-19 spread.
Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin has been meeting with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi in a last-ditch effort to salvage a possible huge COVID-19 rescue package before the election, but still don't have an agreement. On the bright side, the September jobs report coming out tomorrow is expected to show a gain of 850,000 jobs, which means the economy has regained just over half of the 22 million jobs that were lost to the pandemic. Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Thank you, Dale. Moving now to the wildfires devastating California's wine country. Tens of thousands of people are under evacuation orders in Napa and Sonoma counties. The Glass Fire charring more than 75 square miles with next to zero containment. CBN's Jenna Browder brings us the story.
More than 70,000 people are under evacuation orders in California's wine country. So far, the Glass Fire has destroyed some 80 homes and businesses, and it's not over yet. With next to zero containment, 2,000 firefighters are fighting to contain the blaze. The conditions, hot, dry, and windy. And with nearly 30 other fires already burning across the state, they're feeling the fatigue.
Most of our employees have been here since Sunday night.
The Glass Fire charring more than 75 square miles in Napa and Sonoma counties.
It's devastation. Everything we had was here. We lost everything.
Nikki and Kevin Conan were allowed to return to what's left of their rental home. All of their belongings gone, including 12 beloved chickens.
They were my babies. I had 12 chickens. And I spoiled them rotten. I chopped up their food and their treats, and when it was warm, I'd give them frozen water bottles to keep their water dish cool.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the means. It happened so fast I couldn't dig them out of here.
Their furniture business and all of Kevin's tools also destroyed.
We got out of here with each other, and that's the main thing that counts. I mean, that's the only thing that can count.
Others in the area repeating that sentiment.
It's been very difficult. It's hard to see our neighborhood. It's the school I went to grade school at be gone, but the positive is that we're all here. I haven't heard of anybody that I know that has passed away due to this fire, so it's a huge blessing.
About 150 miles north of wine country, the Zog Fire has now claimed 4 lives. That fire burning more than 80 square miles and destroying close to 150 buildings. It's also at near zero containment, but more help should be on the way as fire officials have called in more firefighters to help fight the blazes consuming California. Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Thank you, Jenna. In other news, today was an important deadline for the Trump administration. It proposed slashing the number of refugees the U.S. accepts to a new record low number in the coming year. In a notice to Congress late Wednesday, the government intends to let 15,000 refugees in 2021. That's 3,000 fewer than the administration set for fiscal year 2020. The Trump administration froze refugee admissions in March amid the coronavirus pandemic. A left-leaning Jewish group has released an ad comparing the Trump administration to Adolf Hitler's Germany of the 1930s. The 30-second ad released by the Jewish Democratic Council for America features video of Hitler's supporters waving Nazi flags, alongside Trump speaking at rallies and images of various white supremacy gatherings. The group's executive director claimed in a statement that, quote, American Jews feel less safe today than they did 4 years ago due to the rise of white nationalism and anti-Semitism under Donald Trump. The Simon Wiesenthal Center's Rabbi Abraham Cooperstein right there is denouncing the ad and demanding the group pull it, saying that, quote, comparing the President of the United States to Hitler is beneath contempt.
This ad basically accuses Donald Trump of being a Hitler-like figure. And frankly, by extension, it also puts his supporters, which run into, I guess, at least the tens of millions of people, into the same camp as if they're Nazis. And that itself is an outrageous slander, even in a outrageous political season. But to the core, he is no Nazi. For anyone to throw around the Hitler stuff, and it's been going on now, not just on Donald Trump, but it's been going on in American politics just before November, unfortunately in many cases, but to elevate it to a point in which you're demonizing the President of the United States and his supporters as Nazis, that is just outrageous.
The ad targets Jewish voters in the key swing states of Florida, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. For the first time in 4 decades, thousands of Christians from around the world will not be traveling to Jerusalem for the biblical Feast of Tabernacles, which begins tomorrow. COVID-19, as you can imagine, is the culprit. But as CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl tells us, this year's celebration will still go on.
This year marks the 40th anniversary of the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem hosting the Feast of Tabernacles. Much like the rest of the world, 2020 is making its presence felt.
Because of Corona, Israel isn't allowing people in. We've had all sorts of troubles over the past 40 years of the history of the embassy, when there were wars here, rocket wars, terror campaigns and all, and yet our people always came.
Regardless, ICEJ Vice President David Parsons says the show will go on.
For the first time in the 40 years of hosting this event, we're not able to bring in these thousands of Christian pilgrims, so we've had to move the feast online.
This year's theme is Prepare the Way, and will provide more than 100 online seminars and Bible teachings, as well as virtual tours and worship experiences.
In fact, we probably have more speakers and more worship leaders involved in this feast than in any feast before, because you don't have to go through all the trouble and expense and for them to fit in their schedule of coming to Israel for a week or two.
Still, Parsons admits they will miss certain special moments from years past.
We'll miss the people coming, that experience when their eyes open, they experience Israel and Jerusalem for the first time. We'll miss that moment when they are able to express their love, concern for the people of Israel in the Jerusalem March or our traditional Israeli guest night. But otherwise, we're going to have a big, happy feast.
In 1980, a number of Christians living in Israel got together to host a celebration of the feast, and that resulted in the ICEJ's birth with a mission to support the Jewish state. Several months earlier, Israel had declared Jerusalem as its capital, sparking an international uproar, resulting in the closure of 13 embassies here. Parsons calls the feast a prophetic event.
The prophet Zechariah foresees a time when all nations will come and celebrate it. And that's a time when the Lord is here himself in Jerusalem and to keep the feast. But we're forerunners. We're coming each year and by faith saying we believe that day is coming. We want to go ahead and prepare the throne of the Lord here in Jerusalem through this feast.
Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
By the way, for information on joining this year's online global feast, you can go to cbnnews.com. Coming up, summer is behind us, so what can we expect as we head into cooler months? We'll have that forecast when we come back. But before we go to the break, take a look at what's trending on cbnnews.com. We'll be back in a moment.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN NewsWatch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Yes, right on time.
From Superbook.
Pepper's Pizza Palace is donating pizza for everyone today. Wait. I have big plans today.
Trust in God, even when times are tough. He has a plan for your life.
Hey, we're gonna be late for the grand opening. My parents want me to help with this outreach thing, feeding the community. What am I supposed to do here? Superbook!
Join the Superbook Club and get Superbook The Birth of Moses, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25.
Pharaoh ordered all newborn Hebrew boys thrown into the Nile River, and I have a 3-month-old brother.
The Birth of Moses. Yours for a gift of only $25.
What will you do the next time the soldiers come? I do not know, but I trust God has a plan for all of us.
Superbook Club members, free streaming for seasons 1, 2, and 3 is now available.
Folks, welcome back. You're watching the CBN News Channel. Happy October 1st. And as the holiday season approaches, weather officials everywhere are looking ahead at what to expect as the cooler temperatures roll in, while some Americans are already preparing to hunker down at home to prevent a surge in coronavirus cases. Meteorologists are calling for a colder than normal winter in some areas. Joining us now is the chief forecaster at weatherbell.com and author of a new book, The Weaponization of Weather in the Phony Climate War. My man, Joe Bastardi, and congratulations on the new book. Joe, it's officially fall. What are temperatures looking like across the country right now?
Well, it's very cool in the central part of the United States. A lot of cool weather front 10 days of October here. That heat in the west, though, is going to come out, and there'll be a long stretch of nice, warm, pleasant weather in the Central Plains coming up. Want to make sure that we review what's going on in the tropics. Last time I was on with you. I said, okay, we're going to shut it down, and we'll pick it back up in October, and we're liable to get a development in the Western Caribbean this weekend. That'll go into the Yucatan. And then another development behind that in the Caribbean next week. That could be a problem maybe 10 to 15 days down the road for the Southeast. So the tropics is still very much alive right now. And by the way, just before we get into winter, because everybody wants to know about the winter, and so do I, right now we are 4th highest total acreage burnt in the last 10 years in the West, okay? And that's only 20% of the all-time record back in the 1930s. So a little perspective on that. A lot of it's been focused, of course, in California, so it's all concentrated there. Now, what about the winter? Well, very interesting things are going on, folks, because there are a lot of contradictory signals going on. Earlier, back in the summer, I thought, well, this looks like a slam dunk for a warm winter in the East. I don't really believe that now. I believe there's going to be a heck of a lot of cold air in Canada, more so than normal. Canada leads North America in the exportation of cold air, as you know, into the United States. But more so than average, and that will try to intrude into the northern plains and Great Lakes, even as the resistance over the southeast and southwestern part of the United States fights with it. And that should set up a very interesting stormy pattern, a lot of precipitation from New England back into the Tennessee Valley, a lot of cold air in the northern plains, warm air in the southeast, and storms and rumors of storms. And one of the winters we're looking most closely at right now is 2010, 2011, because there's a lot of things going on very similar this fall to 2010. Everywhere from the kind of hurricane season we had to what's going on up in the Arctic to what we call the Madden-Julian Oscillation is up to, for instance, the La Nina coming on. So we try to get those comparisons, and that turned out to be a very memorable winter in much of the eastern northern part of the United States. Right now, our weather bell forecast calls for cold from the Great Lakes back into the northern plains, colder than normal, warmer than normal, southeast and southwest, big fight in between. And when the weather fights, there's usually a lot of interesting things that go on with snow and ice.
Oh, terrific. Joe, I don't know anybody else who loves weather and is passionate about it as you are. Real quickly, you talked about this a little bit. Any specific parts of the country that's going to experience some of this extreme like weather, like snowstorms?
Well, I think whenever you have a battleground, that area in the Midwest, the Great Lakes, back into Iowa and the northern plains, those areas are most likely to intersect the cold with a little bit more moisture. But, you know, swings south and eastward are very interesting. Last year, that storm track just got established and it wouldn't budge. So we did have above normal snowfall, for instance, in a lot of area of the country, Great Lakes back into the northern plains, but wound up very warm over the southeastern part of the United States. So that's the area we have targeted now for more than average snowfall. But, you know, it's funny in the South, at Virginia Beach, you get one big storm and
it shuts everything down. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right? Joe, as always, thank you for coming on the broadcast. His new book is called The Weaponization of Weather in a Phony Climate War. As always, thanks, man, and have a great weekend, okay?
Oh, you too. Thanks for having me on.
You're most welcome. Still ahead, folks, helping America's military and their families fight the battle with suicide with lasting weapons that work. You don't want to miss that story when we come back.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians in Iran are routinely arrested.
Catholic Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Watch Christian World News, Saturday at 5 p.m.
Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to CBN.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Welcome back. You're watching the CBN News Channel. You know, the COVID-19 global pandemic is tough on everyone, and especially our members of the U.S. military. New numbers show suicide among those who are serving is up as much as 20%. In the Army alone, officials say they have seen a 30% jump in suicides among active troops, and they're considering shortening deployments. Military leaders say they believe the pandemic is adding stress to an already strained force, especially since numbers for the first 3 months of 2020 show an overall dip in military suicides across the active duty and reserves. It's a pain Kim Rocco knows firsthand. Her husband was a Marine Corps pilot for 15 years before he killed himself.
And was a really great dad and husband and a superior Marine and helicopter pilot, but he battled, depression and post-traumatic stress and unresolved trauma and grief. I asked him directly if he was thinking about suicide, if he was feeling so badly that he was thinking about suicide, and he said, "I would never do that to you and the boys." And then he killed himself a couple hours later.
Experts say it is crucial for our service members, active and reserve, to feel a sense of community and for those around them to be observant of changes in behavior. CBN's Eric Phillips spoke with leaders of 3 different military ministries about help and prevention of suicide for America's warriors. Take a listen. Okay, we're going to go to the break and we'll have more of CBN News Channel in a moment, okay? Stay with us, folks.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to CBN.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link, Tuesday nights at 6:30.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Get Protect Your Sleep and live your best life with innovative information from 5 leading sleep experts.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
Discover a sleep-enhancing bedtime routine, how to put insomnia to rest, learn how to relieve pain that disturbs sleep, and much more in Protect Your Sleep.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Don't miss out on this brand new series.
CBN's Eric Phillips, as I mentioned, spoke with leaders of 3 military ministries that are trying to reach out to those who are dealing with suicide. Take a look at it.
In 2016, the suicide rates among veterans and active duty was about 16 per day, which is obviously quite terrible. Since then, about 1,200 programs have been developed by the VA and the Department of Defense that have been primarily clinical. And the suicide rates, as you've seen, have climbed up to 22 a day at a minimum. But I think what's happening now is DOD is really taking the gloves off. The service chiefs have said, spiritual fitness is one phrase that's been coined, and the services are really taking a hard and active look at this as a foundation for living. In terms of what we're doing, we're seeing commanders at all levels. In fact, we just completed 3 events with soldiers from Fort Hood that were outdoor events that got the soldiers out of their element, that had a faith discussion, that had a very actively engaged chaplain. And so what we're really seeing is a multi-pronged attack on this, both from the presidential level, regardless of political affiliation, what's going on with prevents, and each one of the service chiefs basically saying, hey, you know what, we need to take all approaches and put them on the table. And so now faith, which probably ought to be center stage to begin with, is really playing a major role. That's what we're seeing.
So we have less than 2 minutes now, and I want to hear about what each of you is doing and your ministries. Evan, let's start with you. What is your ministry doing? Tell us just a little bit about it quickly, if you can, please.
Absolutely. We help veterans, first responders, and their families overcome trauma related to what they experience in their careers. We do it on a local level through peer-led courses across the country. We've got nearly 300 courses meeting in churches and basements and houses and clubhouses and you name it. So if people wanted to start a course, they can go to rebootrecovery.com. They can start a course right in their community and start making a difference. They don't have to do anything big. They can do something in their church, in their hometown, and that's what we help them do.
All right, Rick, you can talk about yours a little bit?
You bet. So Soul Survivor Outdoor is really focused strictly on the active duty community. And so trying to build resilience into the force. And we use the outdoor adventure component to really break down the barriers and create discussion. And we partner with great organizations like Mighty Oaks, who will bring speakers out and tell their true life stories. And so it becomes, in some ways, from a Christian standpoint, people might see it as a very informal church service, so to speak, but we're not a church, but we're engaged with the active duty community and having this faith discussion as a component to build a solid life foundation so that we can, have early intervention, basically. And so you can find out more about Soul Survivor Outdoor at soulsurvivoroutdoor.org.
And Jeremy, what is the thrust of the Mighty Oaks Foundation?
Sure. Similar to Soul Survivor and Reboot, we work with veterans, active duty service members, and first responders dealing with trauma related to their service. We bring them to one of our facilities, spend a week with them, and break that down, really approaching it from a faith creation position. We pay for travel, we pay for the program so that there are no barriers to getting the help that they need, and then partner with other organizations to help them move forward.
Gentlemen, thank all of you so much for your time. Certainly, this is a big problem, but you all are part of the solution. So thank you very much, and God bless all of you.
Before we go, a beautiful moment amid the pandemic as a new mom gets to hold her son for the very first time several weeks after he was born. Jacqueline Rodriguez was 28 weeks pregnant when she was diagnosed with COVID-19. She was put in an ICU and forced to deliver the baby 10 weeks early. Julian was born healthy, but the virus kept Rodriguez from her son. Her husband, check this out, would bring him to the window every day so she could see him. The new parent says it was hard, but they were grateful to be reunited.
I was so happy. It's crazy, I mean, see her son the first time, it was like, she did it, I'm
alive.
She did it, she's alive, and that's all that matters.
That's fantastic. Goodbye, everyone.